Hello everybody. My little reflection is based on Acts chapter 2 verses 43 to 47. Now I don't know about you, but I'm rather fond of the Peanuts cartoons, and there's one that I saw recently that I think, is really appropriate. And it goes, it's Christmas time and Lucy approaches Charlie Brown and says, "Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown. At this time of year, I think we should put our differences aside and try to be kind." Charlie Brown answered, "Why does it have to be just this time of year? Why can't it be all the year round?" And as usual, Lucy countered in her usual negative, disparaging tone, "What are you, some kind of lunatic or something?" Of course, Charlie Brown is quite right. Being kind isn't just for Christmas, it's for all year. Now, from reading these verses about these early believers, the overall impression that I got is one of togetherness and kinship. The feeling that they were in it together. These early believers were in fellowship with each other. They studied together, shared worship, broke bread. They learned together, and by doing that, grew in faith. They were also united in a common goal, and that was to share the gospel and win people for Jesus. They'd seen the wonders and the miraculous signs that the apostles had done firsthand, and they were excited. They were excited because what they witnessed. They were filled with the Holy Spirit, and then they had the confidence that they too could do as the apostles had done. And remember, the apostles were only doing what they saw Jesus doing. They sold their possessions, shared the proceeds with those who had need, and they were happy with what they had. Sometimes less is more. And what they had, they thanked God for. And, perhaps they got rid of things that were cluttering up their lives and getting in the way. And, others saw the difference in their lives. And because they saw something that they couldn't quite identify, but they knew that it was something special. And they wanted to be like that too. And they also gave their lives to Christ. And if we are to be effective disciples and disciple makers, then our lives and our relationships must be characterized by love. Jesus said that the people would know that we are his disciples if we love one another. John chapter 13, verses 34 to 35. "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, all men will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." Now, of course, the current situation means that we aren't able to meet in person. And Becca has been working really hard in developing her tech knowledge so that there is some sort of community experience. And I thank God for her and for her ingenuity. But while there are some restrictions that have affected our usual way of being church, we can look at these early disciples and be church in a different way. we only have to look at the evening news, see how many places, situations and people there are that need prayer. We can pray for peace, we can pray for healing, and more importantly, we can pray for people's salvation, that they will come to know Jesus and that they will find the peace that only knowing Jesus brings. So while these times are difficult and scary for some, perhaps we could take it as an opportunity to develop our own relationship with God. Life is busy, and there's always something that is clamouring for our attention. Not always stuff that's very important either. So these times, even though they can be refreshing in a way, they can provide opportunities that we wouldn't have had otherwise. This pandemic will end. So meanwhile, let's look at the example of these early Christians and learn from them. And as I mentioned earlier, they sold their possessions and goods, but not just that, perhaps they were just getting rid of stuff. The sort of things that aren't very useful, but they hang on to anyway. I'm guilty of that. It's stuff that gets in the way. And I'm not just talking about material stuff, but stuff that we can carry around with us. So finally, is there anything in your life that you could get rid of? Anything that's weighing you down? Something that is holding you back from developing your relationship with God? And I'll just leave that thought with you. Perhaps it's something that you can pray about. Thank you.